CNN, this is interesting, you need to YouTube this, but CNN cut short an interview with Thorson when he praised Ron Paul and began to speak out against the aggressive military stance abroad, and started to explain that he felt Israel is capable of looking after itself when it comes to Iran. Um, it's kind of funny in the middle of this interview when he starts getting into the heat and really showing, this is like it states here, this is a 10-year veteran. This is real credible aspects. This is somebody who's been there the whole damn time. He knows this war. This young man may be 29 years old, but he's been out there the last 10 years. He's been on these battlefields, multiple tours. He knows what's happening. And when somebody like this, a credible guy like this, says this war is wrong, what we're fighting is not right, and we need a president like Ron Paul, the people may want to listen. So I've got the figures here of Obama versus the other individuals, how much they received of actual money from what would be individuals that are in the armed services. Let's see. National Guard gave Romney and Gingrich and Santorum $0. The U.S. Air Force gave Santorum $0. U.S. Coast Guard gave Santorum, Gingrich, and Romney $0. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. The U.S. military in general. Okay, so U.S. Okay, all together, here we go. What would be, from the combined aspects of National Guard, U.S. Air Force, U.S. Army, Coast Guard, Department of Defense, Marine Corps, and Navy and whatnot in general, what would be Obama totaled $72,616 finance contributions. Romney acquired $13,300, Gingrich $4,900, Santorum $750. It shows Mr. Santorum isn't real credible and respected amongst our troops, obviously. I don't blame them. Maybe they're aware of something that others aren't. And Mr. Ron Paul acquired $95,567. So, Ron Paul acquired $95,000. Obama acquired only $72,000 from our armed services. That is a significant difference. You got about a 25% difference there. And I expect those numbers to begin to change and increase even more as these wheels begin to spin faster and faster. So, we have lots more articles, and I'm just ranting and going on. So yeah, CNN censors a vet with Ron Paul. Republican Jewish coalition bars Ron Paul from presidential debate, saying he's too misguided and extreme. Well, I'm Jewish, but let me tell you this. These are bad Jews. Anybody who wants to bar anybody from speaking their mind, especially a statesman like Mr. Ron Paul, they don't belong calling themselves a Jew or anything as far as I'm concerned. So, Oath Keepers alert. Federal agents demand customer list from a Mormon food storage facility. That's right. Federal government wants to know who's storing ammo, who's storing food, who has a bunch of gas masks and a bunch of stuff put away. I do. That's right. Because I'm not an idiot. Call me paranoid. But I'll tell you what. When diseases break out, when there are psycho mobs in the street wanting to rape and pillage and take your shit, you're going to be a lot less secure than I am. I've got guns. I've got big guns that I'm not going to talk about on camera. They're all legal. Don't worry about that. But they're bigger than an AK and my 45. So I can get a few troops rounded up if need be. Outbreak. That's a sense of security, to know if a disease is broken out. Me, my girlfriend, my family will have gas mask. My family has 6 months of food put away. My dog has 6 months worth of dog food, probably about a year of dog food put away. Gotta have the dog, I love him. Anyway, so these are good things to be thinking of. And someday, if I never tap into that rice and bean stash, those extra bags of dog food, gas masks, supplies of hygiene or anything else, guess what? I'll be the first one to say, thank God we didn't need that stuff. Maybe I was thinking a little bit too much. But at least I'm prepared. Better safe than sorry. Simple as that. I got 6 months worth of food put away. If Safeway stops stocking tomorrow, what do you have put away? I'm going to be alive for at least 6-8 months. At least. Without changing my lifestyle. Too much. I mean, I don't know if the water's going to run. I don't know this, that, or the other. But in general, I'm still going to be clean. I'm still going to be healthy. I'm going to be able to avoid a lot of issues that other people that are laughing at me and watching this now and thinking I'm probably schizophrenic or something, delusional, as a past girl that I dated remarked. Well, maybe I am. But the test of time will show who is with reality and who the delusional ones are. That's what I like about the test of time. RT article. Google this. Okay, outbreak man-made super flu formula to be published. That's right. They're playing with man-made super flus and things that can't even be cured, and they're getting ready to publish this. That's right. They want to publish it. So that way, if a real terrorist is out there, someone can go about doing this. Well, Prince Philip, the Queen's husband, as I mentioned over and over and over again, and you'll probably hear another 1,000 times from now till I turn 60, that Prince Philip, the Queen's husband, the one that is the creator, him and the former Nazi card holder of Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands, these two individuals created environmentalism, which is a spin-off of the eugenics Hitler program. That's right. So environmentalism, that's what they call it now, because eugenics kind of developed a bad ring, you know, if you look at history. So, and we look at the policies coming out of it. It's cap and trade. Taxing the air that comes out of your mouth. I'm a Washington State University master gardener. That's right. I know plants like very few people do on a scientific approach. I'm an expert. I've grown my fair share of plants. Variety of plants. I love gardening. So, I'm a professional and I'm able to qualify. I'm a qualified professional that's able to speak right now and say this for the record. CO2 is not causing the problems in the world. CO2 is good for plants. When I increase CO2 to my garden, what do I get? Bigger harvest. Much bigger harvest. And that don't matter if it's corn, soybeans, or anything else you're growing, indoors or out. The point is, more CO2, bigger buds, bigger harvest, bigger tomato, if you don't know Spanish, or whatever. So, and with cap and trade laws, which went on to effects of literally Australia recently, countries as such can't build their way out. All they can do is bail out. That's a predicament, huh? So yeah, now we have another issue we need to discuss here too. Judge Roll and Representative Giffords targeted for investigating Fast and Furious operation. This is real breaking news. Most of you remember Congresswoman Giffords being shot in the head by a kook young man named Laughlin. What many people don't realize is that what would be the combination of herself, the judge, which is the head federal judge of that district down there, which was shot as well. And there was another individual, which is another congressman, which I have to obtain the name, but anyway, which was supposedly is being targeted and is absolutely, according to this congressman, I don't have the name in front of me, I'm sorry, is frightened for his life. He's scared for his life. This particular congressman is, seeing what happened to a head federal judge and Congresswoman Giffords for studying the Fast and Furious aspects, which have to do with the Obama administration. Supplying guns. That's right. Giving guns illegally to the drug cartels of Mexico, specifically the Sinaloa drug cartel, which went public recently and stated that they were working with the NSA, according to this individual that is being charged, I believe it's the son of the main owner of the cartel, the Sinaloa drug cartel, stated that there was a collaboration, a connection between them and the United States government, and that they were even selling cocaine hidden in saddles, trading it for what would be AK-47s and other guns. So supposedly they were trading drugs to our government, which in turn was giving them weapons. Now, this sounds pretty out there, but anybody who's been looking into the variables of this case knows that this really isn't that far out there. This is reality. You see a congresswoman, a judge getting shot in the head that were ahead of the investigation of these aspects. You have the other third element, a congressman from, I believe it's Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken. It's one of those southern states that ultimately is frightened for his life for a reason. These people are scared to death. Now, Operation Fast and Furious didn't begin under this administration. And this is the reason why you are not hearing as much about this as what you should. It started under George W. Bush's regime. I'm pretty sure it was called something else. I don't know what it was called for its name, but Fast and Furious began back then. If it was called that or if it was called something else. So what we have is Attorney General Eric Holder is saying, okay, to some of these people that want to bring this out to dirt. He's saying, okay, you want to bring this out? You want to bring this out? Let's bring it out. Let's bring it all out. You want to play politics? And we'll show that this didn't start under our administration. It started under Bush. So a lot of Republicans are backing off right now. Why? Well, you know, as we're now in the 4th year of Obama, going toward lame duck and other aspects, becomes rather politically popular to hit them when they're up, kick them when they're down, jump on them. You know what I'm saying? So while the Republicans want to play politics and make sure this guy don't get reelected, just so their GOP guy could, whoever that may be, that they don't want to go through with this because they're afraid that it's going to bring up so much dirt that it's going to end up killing, at least tarnishing, what would be the GOP, the Republican Party as well. So we see good old party politics being played out here. But what we also see is congressmen and judges being put down 6 feet under, or at least the attempts as they're being shot. So, very crazy. Genetically modified mosquitoes to be released in the United States for the first time, potentially as of January of this year. That's right. Genetically modified mosquitoes, which have already been released. So they plan on doing that in the Florida Keys, and according to this, that they've already released them in the Cayman Islands. So we have genetically modified foods that we're eating. Fruits, vegetables. Now they're even cloning what would be cows and other livestock product. Now they're playing with insects in nature, genetically modifying them and releasing them. Folks, you can call me paranoid. I'll call you naive and silly. But when they're playing with all these things that they are, when the economy is going down, when you see an attack upon building your way out, as defined by cap and trade laws that they're trying to push down our throats, which are totally not grounded in science at all. I mean, I'd love to have any greenie, including Al Gore, come before me and debate me. And he won't. And Al Gore won't debate anybody that's real credible, including the Czech Republic president, which offered to debate him. I think it was in 2006, 2007, something like that, about his so-called facts of the inconvenient truth and CO2 levels and whatnot. And Mr. Gore refused that debate on the international forum. Why? He stated it's because the facts are already there. The science has been done. But really, that's an easy way out because he knows his science doesn't add up. That is reality. We have mobile fluoride bans to target communities that voted to remove the chemical from public water supply. Well, you don't know anything about fluoride? It was real popular back in Hitler's eugenics program. That's right. And it doesn't seem to help the teeth like it says. So, have that for a background picture. Missing bush. Mail Online article. What a cheek. Russia criticizes U.S. for its human rights abuses. Russia's foreign ministry has attacked America's human rights record in its first report on injustice elsewhere in the world, offering examples such as Guantanamo Bay Prison and wrongful death row convictions to paint the U.S. as hypocritical for lecturing other nations on the subject of human rights. The situation in the United States is a far cry from the ideals that Washington proclaims, says the newly released report. I agree. It is. You see, all these wars are about freeing this country and freeing that country. You see the approach of old Black Bush here, which is still lurking there behind the photo. Don't worry. He's still, see, he's right there. He's right there. That, nothing's changed. That, ultimately, the approach is a little different than, say, Bush and Obama on the outskirts. You know, Bush was, let's go get him, you know, type thing. Crazy Texan, you know, let's get him, boys. That was Bush. Where this president does it with a velvet glove over an iron fist, which has overthrown more leaders and did more damage to the economy and overseas than Bush's and Cheney's wildest wet dream orgy could ever sum up. But ultimately, that it's his approach. It's all in the name of protecting the people. It's all in the name of freedom, security, the abuses to protesters and whatnot. Well, you know, it's kind of funny because people as such are missing Bush. I never liked Bush. I mentioned the grandson of what would be a Hitler supporter, Prescott himself. You know what I mean? And the grandson, you know, W became our president. So I'm no supporter of the Bush administration. But let me assure you, with what I'm seeing under this administration, as disgusting as it may be, there are many people in the world that are starting to miss the days of Bush as they're beginning to see how dark and disgusting things are beginning to come into play. And I said beginning. This economy hasn't even hit the 10% mark of topple. Now that's a very unpopular statement that I released recently. A few store owners and people that, like me, heard that and are a bit not knowing about that one. So a few people out there have, you know, kind of took a step back a little bit, or a little bit upset with my newest findings and releases of forecast and whatnot that I've been coming strong on with the last couple of months. But hey, if you don't like reality, folks, don't blame me. Blame the government. I'm just letting you know how it is. We haven't hit 10% yet. So if you're struggling, if your business is on the verge and brink, chances are you're getting ready to get toppled. You're going down. We're all going down the tubes until we change and go back to the American system. Chavez stated in a Bloomberg article that the U.S. may be behind the leader's cancer. Now, that sounds kind of funny, but the United States has been known to create biologically forms of cancer that can kill you in a matter of weeks or months or whatever, at least begin to set in at various stages. And it's kind of questionable and coincidental at bare minimal that what would be a whole bunch of South American leaders, I'm not saying that anything about them individually. You can like them, you can not. You can argue that Hugo Chavez is a dictator, you can not. I don't care. I'm not going to argue that. I don't know that much about him, this and that, the other. I don't care, because it really don't affect us here. He's not trying to bomb us, is he? No. He's not trying to Obama-nation us, is he? And destroy our economy? No. So he's way back on the back burner, and I don't care what Chavez is really doing. We need to care about what we're doing. We need to worry about us, instead of what every other nation and person and neighbor. What's my neighbor up to across the street? What's that guy doing over there that's running for mayor? I wonder what he's up to tonight. Who's that car over there? Who cares? It's a pretty girl, and I'm having a good time tonight, if you really want to know. So, don't worry about it. Get your own life, and you won't be so worried about what other people are doing. And our life and what we need to do and the work that we have to do starts right here. Because if you haven't looked in the backyard, there's a lot of dirt back there. There's a lot of crap and corrosion that needs to be picked up and cleaned up if we want to turn this into a beautiful farm or country or something in the long run. So, candidates should be concerned about the SOPA Act, according to this. During the waning days of the 2008 presidential race, there was an important but overlooked occurrence with the John McCain campaign in mid-October. The McCain campaign awoke to find that its web videos and online advertisements were disappearing from its YouTube page. Interesting. Change you can believe in. We got Obama administration secretly preparing options for aiding the Syrian opposition. That's right. Just like what happened in Libya. Remember, they said it wasn't regime change. But then a few months later, Gaddafi's dead. Our president goes on what would be Jay Leno and states this was a recipe for success, unquote. So if it was a recipe for success, even though he was touting that it wasn't regime change back in April, if the success came after Gaddafi died, that shows common sense. That was the intent to begin with. If it was a successful mission, they accomplished what they were trying to do. Kind of like, remember, mission accomplished? Kind of like that. I should have the picture of the boat on there with old Bush coming in on the fighter plane. That'd be nice and humorous and whatnot. And we'll come in with different things in the future. Trust me. No Spin News Source has a lot of ideas, and we're beginning to light up. We're going to light it up. So anyway, U.S. sends aircraft carrier through the Strait of Hormuz during Iran war games exercises. The government of the United States, through the direction of the British Empire, like it or not, this president, so-called president, is doing everything they can. If they can't get someone else through Israel or get someone to do something somewhere to get this World War III on, they are going to try to provoke Iran to do something silly themselves. And that's what they just tried to do. So even though Iran stated for 2 weeks they're getting ready to have these war games, the United States took one of its battleships and drove right through the middle of their war games exercise as they're firing and doing all their stuff. You think that's a coincidence? No, it's not. There are entities in our government that would be delighted to sink a United States ship with potentially your mom or dad, your little brother, sister, son, uncle, daughter, or whatever. That's right. There are people in the government that are willing to kill your babies, dad, or whoever in order to provoke a World War III. There are people who believe that they're going to financially gain. There are people like Prince Philip of the World's Wildlife Fund, the head individual, the Queen's husband that created environmentalism and whatnot, as I mentioned earlier, that has called publicly for a world's reduction of the population to that of around 1 billion people. He even said, as noted in what would be in the late 80s by Der Spiegel magazine, a highly respected news company in what would be Europe, that quote, "If there is such things as reincarnation, I wish to come back as a deadly virus to help bring down the world's population and to contribute something to mankind," unquote. That's right. That's the goal, expressed directly from the lips of that freak, Prince Philip himself. So what an aspiration, huh? I mean, you might have thought you're a loser, or other people's a loser, some guy down the street that just sits around and drinks alcohol or whatever, a bum on the road that don't get a job. You know, you may think that guy's a loser, just peddling, not doing nothing. But really, when your goal in life is to come back as a deadly virus to bring down the population, wow. And that is the character of who and what is running the world today. You want to know who's running? Who created and whatnot? I mean, with this one world order, new world order governance system, these are the folks that are at the helm of the ship. You think it's going to end up dry land where you want to end up? Stay the course. Let's not. Okay, bailing out Europe banks, Bernanke and Fed deceived Congress. They said we weren't going to be no lender of last resort and be bailing out the European banks, and what they're doing, monetarism, they're going down. We are now the lender of last resort. The United States government, my kids, grandkids, kids, generations that haven't even began to be fathomed yet, are going to be paying on the debt of a system that is crap and phony to begin with. It's fictitious gambling debts, as I've said over and over and over again, as explicitly financial derivatives and through speculation, as it's labeled, through free trade. That's right. So if you like free trade, if you think you like free trade, you're getting it. You're getting ready to lose your home. You're beginning to starve. You don't like, see the old people down the street can't afford their diapers anymore, Depends diapers or diabetes health care. Good old free trade. And it's 100% successful. That's right. Free trade is successfully doing what it was intended to do, which is bring in devastation, destruction, starvation, and trust me, free trade, free trade hasn't even put the napalm on the house yet. It hasn't even put the gasoline on yet. It's still sparking with matches. So like I mentioned before, this economy hasn't hit 10%. We're still growing population on the planet. We're at 7 billion people and growing. I can assure you that if Obama is not impeached, Glass-Steagall does not come in, National Bank credit system to help restructure and get back to where we were and fund the projects that we need to pull up out of this mess, I can assure you that where we will be over the next 2 years will be in a place that will be very, very dark and will be way more scary than the decline of the United States throughout the last decade combined. I can assure you of that. Gun sales at record level according to FBI background checks. CNN.com article. That's right. Everybody's buying guns. 2012. People are being asked, why are you buying these guns? You know what they're saying? They don't have faith in the government. They're worried of what's going to happen with the economy and whatnot. They don't see this president providing real leadership, and they're worried that violence and crime is going to seriously escalate. Well, if you're one of those people, you're smart. If you're one of those people that thinks that you don't need a gun, you may be dumb. Now, remember about balls? Obama just didn't have the balls to follow through with the right thing, according to another article by RT. Let's go into this a little bit. It's been a long show. What's another 20 minutes? One of the first promises made by President Obama when he first came into power in 2008 was to close the controversial Guantanamo Bay Detention Center. The former chief prosecutor at the Gitmo Military Commissions, Colonel Morris Davis, who was thrilled when Obama took office, told RT of his huge disappointment in the U.S. president. Quote, "Candidate Obama said all the right things about justice and American values, and closing Guantanamo and doing away with military commissions and applauding the rule of law," he told RT's Jian Chikian. And then once again, he gets in office. Oh, and then once he gets in office, if he did just embrace the Bush policies, he kissed himself on the lips and ran with them. And he advanced them further than President Bush ever did, unquote. Quote, "Like killing an American with a drone strike in Yemen, which is just astounding that an American president can make the unilateral decision that the surveillance agency, the CIA, would go to another country and launch an offensive military operation, fire missile, and killing an American and bystanders. I'm not aware of any legal justification for that. I think it's called murder to kill another human being deliberately without legal justification." Now, it's not just Kari Ilonummi. It is the lawman himself of what would be this individual that stated this. That this is Colonel Morris Davis, who is the former chief prosecutor of the Gitmo Military Commissions, is saying that this is illegal and murder. It's not just Kari Ilonummi at No Spin News Source. You know, I'm a Washington State University Master Gardener, and even though I've been studying politics and economics for years and years, and I've studied the British free trade system, and I've read the doctrines of Adam Smith, Thomas Malthus, and Jeremy Bentham, the actual doctrines. This is why I understand this shit so much. I've read the doctrines of the British Empire free trade system. I've read doctrines and writings, reports on manufacturing and whatnot by Alexander Hamilton in Article 1, Section 8 and through the credit system. So I've read and compared, competed, and contrasted both sides. I've looked at history when we went with the National Bank the first 2 times we had it, and certain directives under Lincoln